Hello, my name's Iron and this is Iron's Tech. Welcome back to the channel. This video is coming out a bit later than I intended due to some complications regarding headphones and things that I discovered testing out the Space Q45s compared to the Q30s, and then I ended up returning the Q45s. I got some Sonys, which were the 720Ns, and I ended up actually returning those and upgrading those to what you see in front of you here, which is the XM4s, the Sony WH-1000 XM4s. So it's been quite the headphone adventure. I like to talk about it a little bit, talk about why I ended up settling for the XM4s. But first of all, I'd like to do a quick comparison between the Q30s and the Q45s from Soundcore and just give you a rundown of what I thought about those headphones and why I ended up not keeping the 45s. I actually did sell the Q30s as well to help fund these, because these are an expensive pair of headphones. So let me get on with the comparison. Okay, so my commute consists of walking and riding on a bus and taking a train. I also live relatively close to a train line, and sometimes you can maybe hear them going past in the background there. So I've got a lot of possibilities to test out noise cancelling headphones, and for each pair I've had, so for the Q30s, the Q45s, the Sony 720Ns and these XM4s, you know, I can go for a walk down right next to the train lines, really test them out, go on a train, go on a bus, stand next to a really busy road and really put them through their paces. And I can go walk around a train station with loads of people everywhere, really try them out. So when I come back with a review of these XM4s, I will be talking about all those different things. All right, I'm going to leave the XM4s on the table here just for something to look at, as the other headphones I have, as I said, I've sold them, so I don't have those to show you here, but I did take some pictures and I'll put those up on the screen as we go along as well. Let's start with some pros of the Q45s and the Q30s. So Q45 pros, very good passive noise cancellation. They've got really thick padding around the ear cups, and that's good for just passively blocking out noise without having to use the active noise cancellation. They look very premium and they appear to have a very good build quality, and they did. The whole time I had them, they were pretty solid. Nothing fell off or bent or scratched or anything like that. They were very nicely built and they looked really nice. The Q45s are a very nice looking pair of headphones. They have very good active noise cancellation if you stay still, and this was one of the main problems I had with the Q45s. And I'll come back to the big problem when we talk about like the cons. The noise cancellation on those is very good if you stay still. They had a pretty good sound out of the box. The sound on the Q45s was, in my opinion, quite a lot better than the Q30s out of the box. You can EQ the sound to make them substantially better. They have a good EQ in the application. You can move that around and make them sound very nice. The app for the Q45s is an improvement over the Q30s. It's a very good app from Soundcore. You can adjust so much stuff. You can change the noise cancellation across 5 levels, the ambient sound, I think they had 5 levels as well. Just so many things you can alter with those headphones. Like the EQ is very good. There's loads of presets, same as the Q30s. There's more information on that app in the review I did of the Q30s, if you want to have a look at that one. The ambient mode on the Q45s was amazing. Like I've tried out quite a few headphones, including these XM4s, and the ambient mode on the Q45s was the best I've used. Definitely better than the Q30s, better than the XM4s, just really good ambient, like letting in the outside sound. Very easy to hear yourself and everything else around you, very adjustable, really, really good. Also, the Q45s came with a nice case. It was quite similar to this case, just it's got a different external material. Let's jump to the Q30s. So the Q30 Pros. The pros of the Q30s, they're cheap, right? They're pretty cheap headphones. You can get them for quite a good price. They're normally on discount here and there. Yeah, Q30s are a very good price for what you get. They're relatively lightweight. They are lighter than the Q45s. I think they're a touch lighter than the XM4s as well. The bass is pretty good for the price on the Q30s. Out of the box, they sound okay, bit bass heavy, but you can EQ them with that same Soundcore app again to make them sound much better. They don't look huge. The Q30s, they're a little bit kind of sticking out the side, like a Princess Leia look, some people call it. But they don't look too big. They're sensible headphones. And again, they come with a nice case, similar to this case. I think the Q30s, for their price, are a very, very good set of headphones. I'm going to jump straight into the cons now. So let's go back to the Q45s. So the Q45 cons, they are rather heavy. They're quite a heavy set of headphones. They're a bit heavier than the Q30s. You can feel them on your head. The padding around the top of the headband on the Q45s is less than the Q30s, despite them being heavier. So you do feel them there. In my opinion, the Q45s look big. They look huge. They're not a subtle pair of headphones. They look good. They're nice looking, but they are big and they stand out. With the Q45s, I couldn't get a good fit on my narrow head. I have quite a narrow head. So some people have like quite a wide head and they'll feel a bit more clamping force, but the headphones are going to stay put. But my head's more this way, right? It's very thin and narrow, and I couldn't get them to feel comfortable and to hold still, which may be part of the reason I had another issue, which is they had a very weird bass response when I put them in ANC mode and started moving around. This is one of the main reasons why I returned the Q45s. Staying still, the noise cancelling was really, really good. Like, I would say it's nearly at the same level as the XM4s, which is not the sound noise cancellation is good on these. But moving about, it was making some weird noises. Like there was occasional, not wind, but windish sound, and the bass response would just move around, like it would get stronger and weaker, and the bass EQ sounded like it was shifting about as I was moving. It could be due to it trying to respond to different pressure in the ear cups as I'm moving about, but I've not experienced it to that extent with other headphones. The Q30s do it a tiny bit, but it's not to the same extent, and it's not as distracting and annoying, to be honest. Excuse me. So yeah, so the ANC was a bit much, and I tested it out in quite a few different places, and it got to the point where I just turned the ANC off, which completely defies the point of buying an ANC pair of headphones. So that is the main reason why the Q45s went back. As well, the other thing was the EQ is slightly different in each of the modes. So you put it in normal mode, noise cancellation mode, or the ambient, like let the sound in mode. The EQ is slightly different with each one. It's much better than the Q30s in that regard. The Q30s are all over the place when you switch the mode. But it's still not, it's the same. It's not standard. It does change around a bit. On to the Q30 cons. I think they need to be EQ to sound acceptable. Now, the Q45s, you could just about get away with using those out of the box without changing the EQ. They sound okay. The Q30s were really muddy and very, very bass heavy, and the bass was leaking up into the higher frequencies. It was a bit of a mess. But if you EQ them, they sound good. Another con with the Q30s, the bass is a bit like bloaty or splatty. I don't really know how to describe it. It's not very precise. It's not very dialed in. It's quite like muddy, blobby bass. It's strong, but it does leak into the other frequencies. It's not very controlled. The Q30s move around on my head a bit. They're quite loose, so fairly comfortable, but they do move around a bit. Again, I got a narrow head. They do move around. I couldn't get them to be quite secure feeling. The noise cancellation on the Q30s is okay. It does a pretty good job, especially on like a train or a bus. It takes off all the low end. Cancelling out mids and highs is not great at, honestly, but the low end is pretty good. For the price, good. But it's nowhere near as good as the Q45. The Q45 noise cancellation, again, if you stay still, is very, very good. The Q30s is not on the same level. The noise cancellation is more stable on the Q30s, I found. It doesn't move around, and the bass doesn't move around everywhere. Sorry for the train sound, by the way. It still does affect the bass response if I move a lot. Like if I start properly walking quickly or like jumping around, not that you want to really wearing these, but the bass response does move about a bit. It does sound a bit funny, but not too bad. And the EQ is different in the 3 modes. As with the Q45, the Q30s, the bass especially, I've noticed, if you switch between normal, ANC, and the ambient sound, each one sounds different. Especially the normal mode going to the noise cancelling mode, there's a big noticeable difference in what that sounds like. Also, one more thing with the Q30s, it has active noise cancelling printed on the side of the headphones. Why do that? I don't understand why that has to be there. The Q45s don't have that, it just says Soundcore down the side, which is so much better. But the Q30s have active noise cancelling printed down the side. I don't know why. Okay, so after all that talking, in conclusion, the Q45s were an upgrade to the Q30s, but I don't think they were worth me upgrading. They're very overall similar headphones. Q45s feel a bit more premium. They do a better job of noise cancelling, sound a little bit better, but they're really similar to the Q30s. And due to that, and also mostly due to the ANC being really weird when I move about, I did end up returning the Q45s. My commute consists of walking, bus, and train. On the train, the Q45s were good because the train generally doesn't bounce up and down. The bus, when it's a bit of a rough journey, like going around a corner, going over a bump, sometimes I notice the ANC playing up. And the walking part of my commute, the Q45s gave me a lot of trouble with just the whooshing occasionally sound and the bass response just being all over the place whenever I moved. So yeah, conclusion, I returned the Q45s and I bought the Sony WH-CH720Ns instead. Okay, this part of the video I want to talk about why I returned the Sony 720Ns. So as a replacement to the Q45s, I picked up the Sony WH-CH720Ns and I ended up returning those as well. I returned those and I picked up these 1000 XM4s instead of them. In short, I returned the 720Ns because on the right ear cup, there was this really strange feeling of pressure. And originally I thought, oh, it's just the ANC, because all ANC does things to my head regarding pressure. The Q30s did it. These I've not experienced it as much, but again, when I do a review of the XM4s, I'll talk more about that and I'll give it more time with these and see how they go. But the 720Ns, there was something in the right ear cup and it felt like it was like sucking on my ear, but only on the right side. And I originally thought maybe it's just my pair. So I went into the shop, I went to the demo pair they had on display and tried them, and the same thing happened there. It could be my ear, there could be something up with my ear, that's a possibility, but it was so uncomfortable and I just couldn't use them for a long period of time. So I gave them a really good try, but I couldn't do it, I couldn't handle them. And also there was a bit of a funny thing with the connectivity with the 720Ns. Like most of the time it was fine, but just occasionally the music I was listening to would just stop. And I'd be like, what's going on? So I got the phone out, had a look, and then everything looked like it was okay. And then I would just press play and it would carry on. And after a little bit of research, I found people have been noticing that sometimes if you have the Sony app open in the background, they can just disconnect and then reconnect, and the music won't continue. So you won't, all you'll notice is that the music's just stopped for some reason. But that was occasional, it wasn't a major problem. and people have said that they think it's going to get fixed with a software update, but the combination of the right ear cup giving me trouble and the Bluetooth connectivity, I just took them back and I asked, can I please just do a part exchange basically for these? So just pay the remainder I need to pay to upgrade, and I'll try a different model out. And that's how I have ended up with the XM4s. The XM5 looked tempting, but they were honestly a little bit out of my price range. And in the store where I tried them both out, the XM4s felt a little bit more solid and a little bit more comfortable. So I will be back with a review of the XM4s after I've been using them for a few days. There is an unboxing video that I will make as well. But again, I have been Iron. This is Iron's Tech. This was a very talky video. Thank you for sticking around if you did. And I will see you in the next one.